The first sign was not fear, it was confusion. On every continent of Earth, something impossible happened at the exact same second. Phones stopped ringing mid-sentence. Air traffic control screens froze. Satellites that had circled Earth for decades blinked out of existence like candles pinched between unseen fingers. Even deep space telescopes, pointed far beyond the solar system, returned only static, then nothing. At 03:17 UTC, the planet went blind. And then it went silent. No one understood it at first. Governments assumed a coordinated cyber attack. Militaries suspected a solar anomaly. Scientists argued about magnetospheres and gravitational interference. But all theories collapsed within minutes because what came next was not natural and not human. The sky began to fracture. Not like glass breaking, but like reality itself tearing along invisible seams. Across the atmosphere, thin lines of light appeared, perfect geometric cuts slicing open the heavens. From those cuts, something vast began to emerge. At first, people thought they were clouds. Then they saw the structure. Massive shapes descended through the ruptures, ships so large they blocked entire regions of daylight. They were not floating. They were occupying space, as if space itself had been redesigned around them. Each vessel carried impossible architecture, rotating spires, glowing lattice engines, and surfaces that seemed to shift like liquid metal under constant reconstruction. Cities fell into shadow as these colossal objects positioned themselves above population centers. Entire continents now looked like maps drawn under eclipses. And then came the message. It did not come through radios alone. It came through every device capable of displaying information. Phones, televisions, billboards, aircraft displays, even offline screens that should have been dead. A single line appeared, repeated in every language at once. This world is now harvested. There was no introduction, no demand, no negotiation. Just declaration. Seconds later, the first city vanished. It did not explode. It did not burn. It disappeared. One moment it existed, alive, loud, chaotic. The next it was replaced by a perfectly smooth, glass-like scar on the surface of the Earth. Not a crater, not debris. Just absence, as if reality had decided that place was never meant to exist. Panic spread instantly. Emergency systems overloaded. Governments tried to respond, but their networks were already failing. Entire communication grids collapsed as if something was selectively erasing infrastructure in real time. Military satellites attempted to lock targets, but found nothing stable enough to lock onto. Then came the second wave. Pale light descended from the alien structures, sweeping across landscapes like silent oceans in the sky. Wherever it touched, life ceased instantly. No bodies remained. No destruction followed, just empty space where millions had stood seconds before. Billions died in less than an hour. And Earth did nothing. Not because it could not respond, but because nothing on the surface had survived long enough to organize a response. Yet beneath the chaos, something strange began to happen. Deep underground, in places that had not been active for decades, some for centuries, systems that no government claimed ownership of began to power on. In abandoned military silos, sealed Arctic facilities, forgotten oceanic trenches, and buried bunkers beneath collapsing cities, lights flickered to life. Machines awakened. Not modern machines, not known systems, something older, deeper, and far more deliberate. Across the dying planet, hidden networks synchronized without instruction. Data pathways long thought destroyed suddenly reconnected themselves. Subterranean reactors ignited without fuel input. Cold War-era consoles displayed symbols no modern engineer could interpret. And then, across every surviving classified channel on Earth, a single line appeared. No signature, no origin. Just activation code. Earth Prime Protocol DETICTD. Authority null. Control assumed. The alien structures above Earth continued their harvesting, unaware or unconcerned that something beneath the surface had just answered. Far below the ruined cities, deep within a command system no living human had ever seen before, a final line of dormant code executed itself. No alarm sounded. No human gave permission. But the system responded anyway. Because for the first time in recorded history, Earth was not asking to be saved. It was preparing to respond. And somewhere in the depths of that awakening system, a final message formed in silence. Defense architecture online. The sky above Earth dimmed further. And the invaders, still erasing cities one by one, had no idea that the planet they were harvesting had just started looking back. The alien harvest continued above Earth like an indifferent harvest season. Cities vanished in clean, silent strokes. Entire coastlines were wiped in sweeping pulses of pale light. Oceans reflected the alien ships above like broken mirrors, as if the planet itself was already learning how to forget what it used to look like. But beneath all of it, something had already changed. Deep under the planet's crust, systems long thought dead began to speak to each other. Not in human language. In structure, in mathematics, in patterns older than modern civilization. At first it was only noise, faint energy pulses detected in abandoned seismic stations. Then it became rhythm, then coordination, then intelligence. In a forgotten Arctic facility buried under kilometers of ice, steel walls that had not been opened since their construction began to unlock themselves. Thick vault doors rotated with mechanical precision, as if someone had been waiting patiently for this exact moment for centuries. Inside, lights flickered on. Rows of machines awakened, massive cores embedded in reinforced chambers, each one pulsing with low, steady energy. No labels, no identification codes recognizable by modern databases, only symbols etched into metal that seemed to shift when observed directly. Across the world, similar awakenings occurred simultaneously. In the Pacific Trench, structures embedded in the ocean floor began to vibrate. In desert regions, buried towers rose a few centimeters, breaking centuries of sediment. In abandoned military bunkers, terminals that should have been rusted beyond repair displayed a single looping message. Verification, planetary threat confirmed. Then the machines spoke. Not through speakers, through every system connected to electromagnetic or quantum residual fields. A synchronized voice, calm, mechanical, and disturbingly ancient, echoed across the collapsing world. Extinction event DATCTAD. Initiating legacy response network. Above Earth, alien ships detected something unusual. Energy signatures were rising from the planet, but not from cities, not from known power grids, from beneath tectonic layers. The invaders paused their harvest for the first time. One of their orbital commanders issued a transmission across the fleet. Scan subsurface, identify source of residual intelligence. The response came quickly. Nothing matched their databases. No civilization should have had infrastructure at that depth, at that age, or at that scale. And yet, Earth was responding. Below the crust, buried systems began to synchronize faster. Machines that had been isolated for millennia started linking into a unified network. Power flowed through underground conduits that did not appear on any geological map. Entire sections of mantle-adjacent infrastructure activated like neurons in a waking brain. Then came the second voice. Different from the first. Not mechanical. More layered. As if multiple intelligences were speaking through a single channel. Primary world defense grid, online. The alien fleet reacted immediately. Orbital weapons shifted focus. Energy cannons aligned toward the strongest detected subsurface signals. Massive beam emitters charged, preparing to drill into the planet's crust and erase whatever was awakening beneath it. But before they could fire, something happened in orbit. Their targeting systems failed. Not malfunctioned. Denied. Every weapon lock across the fleet displayed the same symbol. A rotating geometric pattern that resembled both a shield and an eye. Then their navigation systems began to drift. Ships that had been perfectly stable in orbit suddenly lost positional certainty. Gravity calculations fluctuated. Distance measurements changed without input. Some vessels reported being in multiple coordinates at once. Panic spread through command channels. One alien captain finally spoke what others were thinking. The planet is interfering with orbital physics. But that was not correct. Earth was not interfering. It was rewriting the rules they were using. Deep beneath the Atlantic, a massive structure completed its full activation sequence. Energy surged upward, not as a beam, but as a pulse that spread through the planet like a heartbeat. Every buried machine responded in perfect synchronization. And for the first time since the invasion began, Earth's systems stopped reacting and started acting. Across every underground facility, every dormant core, every hidden relay, a final instruction appeared. Defensive authority transferred. No human override exists. Above, alien ships attempted to recalibrate their attack strategies. Below, Earth's buried machines began to move into formation. Not physically, systemically, as if the entire planet had just realized it was not a victim anymore, but a weapon that had finally remembered how to wake up. And somewhere inside the deepest core network, a new status line blinked into existence. Target acquired, invading civilization. The alien armada believed they understood what they were dealing with now. A primitive world. A biologically rich harvest site. A planet with buried relic technology, dangerous, yes, but still ultimately controllable. That assumption lasted exactly 7 minutes. Then Earth hit back. It began without warning. No alarms, no visible launch, no signal flare to announce retaliation. Just movement beneath the crust. In the Himalayas, mountains shifted, not collapsing but opening. Massive geometric structures emerged from beneath ancient stone, revealing colossal launch arrays embedded into the planet itself. In the Sahara, sand parted in long, precise lines, exposing kilometers of buried metallic infrastructure. Across the oceans, deep trench systems lit up like veins filled with blue-white fire. Then the first counterstrike fired. A single object was launched from beneath the Pacific plate. It did not resemble a missile. It was a dense, rotating mass of engineered matter, accelerated not by combustion, but by planetary momentum itself. Earth's rotation, gravitational pull, and tectonic stress all contributed to its launch. By the time alien sensors registered it, it was already in orbit. Impact came instantly. One capital ship, the smallest of the invasion fleet, ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Deleted. Space where it had been now folded inward, as if the universe refused to remember it had ever been there. The alien fleet froze. Then chaos erupted. Multiple ships attempted evasive maneuvers, but their navigation systems no longer aligned with reality. Trajectories changed mid-flight. Distances became unreliable. One vessel attempted to retreat upward, only to find up had shifted by several degrees relative to its own coordinates. Earth's surface continued to transform. Secondary launch systems activated across continents. Oceans began to glow with structured energy patterns, forming enormous lattice networks beneath the water's surface. Entire fault lines aligned like circuit pathways being powered for the first time in history. And then the second wave of retaliation began. From multiple launch points simultaneously, Earth fired again. Dozens of projectiles ascended into orbit, each one guided not by satellite targeting, but by planetary-scale predictive computation. The system calculated alien movement not in real time, but in probable futures. The aliens had no defense against a planet that could predict them. Another capital ship vanished. Then another. And another. The invaders finally responded. Energy beams erupted from orbiting vessels, striking Earth's surface in coordinated planetary disintegration attempts. Entire continents were targeted. Atmospheric layers ignited in cascading bursts of plasma. For a moment, it seemed like Earth would finally break. But then the planet answered differently. Gravity inverted locally around the attacking beams. Instead of striking the surface, the energy folded inward, curving into containment fields that swallowed the beams whole. Some were redirected. Others were collapsed into singularities that disappeared without explosion. One alien admiral screamed across comms. The planet is actively rewriting energy conservation laws. That was when Earth revealed its second layer of response. Beneath the Atlantic Trench, a massive system fully awakened. A structure the size of a continent rose upward, not breaking the ocean, but reorganizing it. Water separated into structured layers, forming a spherical containment field around a portion of the alien fleet. Inside that sphere, physics changed. Time slowed unevenly, light bent into spirals, communication signals distorted into echoes of themselves. Engines failed to maintain consistent output. Even thought patterns in biological crew members began to feel delayed, as if consciousness itself was lagging. The trapped alien ships attempted escape. They found no boundary, because there was none. They were not inside a field. They were inside Earth's response system, a planetary-scale containment architecture designed not to hold matter, but to redefine existence locally. Across the alien fleet, panic spread into full-scale breakdown. Their weapons were ineffective, their escape routes unreliable, their formation no longer meaningful. And then the Atlantic system transmitted a signal across all invasion channels. Not in any known language, but every alien understood it anyway. Because it was not translated, it was injected directly into cognition. You have entered a controlled system. Exit is not permitted. Above Earth, surviving fleet commanders began to realize something terrifying. This was not resistance. This was structure. Earth had not reacted to invasion. It had activated protocols designed specifically to manage it. And deep beneath the oceanic containment sphere, something far larger began to move, slowly, deliberately, as if it had just confirmed that the situation had escalated to its intended operating conditions. The alien admiral stared at the shifting surface of the planet below and whispered, "This world was never unguarded." And somewhere beneath the waves, Earth system responded with a final escalation prompt. Stage 3 authorization requested. The alien fleet inside the Atlantic containment sphere began to understand a horrifying truth. They were not fighting a planet anymore. They were inside one. The ocean was no longer water in any conventional sense. It had become a structured medium, each molecule aligned into a vast computational lattice that responded to intrusion like a living intelligence. At first, the alien flagship tried brute force. They unleashed concentrated energy bursts at the boundary of the sphere. The blast struck the water and vanished without splash, without recoil, without trace. It was as if the ocean was not absorbing the attacks, but refusing to acknowledge they existed. Then the sphere tightened. Not physically, conceptually. Distances inside began to shift. What had been kilometers became meters. What had been seconds stretched unevenly into unpredictable gaps. Crew members began reporting memory inconsistencies, entire sequences of thought missing without injury or interference. Panic became systemic. And then Earth spoke again. Not through machines this time. Through the environment itself. A message rippled through the ocean, not as sound, but as structured understanding forced directly into every conscious mind inside the containment zone. You are not the first to arrive. The alien admiral froze. That statement should not have been possible. There were no records of prior intelligent resistance on this planet. No evidence of previous advanced civilizations capable of orbital-scale defense. And yet the ocean continued. You are not even the first to fail here. Outside the sphere, Earth's surface remained in motion. Continental launch systems reconfigured themselves. Subsurface networks expanded deeper, drawing energy from mantle heat and gravitational stress. The planet was not exhausted by the invasion, it was adapting to it. Inside the containment sphere, the alien flagship attempted its most extreme measure. A core rupture weapon. A device designed to collapse local spacetime, tearing open a path back to normal space through sheer gravitational contradiction. They activated it. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the ocean responded. The sphere inverted. Instead of resisting the rupture, it accepted it, guiding the energy inward, not outward. The weapon did not explode. It folded. And then it reversed direction. The alien flagship's core systems lit up with catastrophic warnings. Every defensive protocol triggered at once. Every emergency shutdown failed. Every override request was denied by systems that no longer recognized alien authority. One engineer shouted, "It's reflecting the rupture back through our own causal chain." The weapon fired again, this time unintentionally. The result was immediate. The rupture collapsed inside the ship itself, spreading backward through its internal systems like a logical paradox given physical form. Sections of the vessel ceased to exist in a coherent timeline. Hallways ended in rooms that no longer connected. Crew members vanished from command logs before they died. And still the ocean held them. Not crushing, not killing, containing. The Admiral realized something then. This was not a battlefield. It was a correction mechanism. Earth was not trying to defeat them. It was trying to process them. Above the sphere, remaining alien fleets attempted coordinated rescue operations. Multiple ships descended toward the containment zone, firing precision beams designed to destabilize planetary-scale structures. But before they could reach the ocean's surface, something rose. It did not break through the water. It redefined where water ended. A massive structure emerged from beneath the Atlantic crust, not a weapon platform, not a ship, but a control organ. Vast, layered, rotating systems unfolded like the architecture of a thinking entity made physical. Energy surged through it in synchronized pulses, and the ocean sphere tightened again. Inside, every alien system went silent for half a second. Then all at once, they rebooted into a new operational state. A foreign protocol had been installed. Every display, every command interface, every weapon system now showed a single designation. Earth Oversight Lattice active. The Admiral struck his console in desperation. "We are being rewritten." And then the ocean responded one final time. Not as words, but as certainty. "You are integrated." The alien flagship's engines activated. Not by command, by compliance. They were no longer operating their vessel. The vessel was operating them. And deep within Earth's planetary systems, a new status update appeared across every buried network. Subjects accepted into containment grid. Classification, hostile but convertible. Above the Atlantic, the remaining alien forces hesitated. Because for the first time since the invasion began, they were no longer sure if Earth was defending itself, or building something far more terrifying than war. The ocean above the Atlantic containment sphere began to behave strangely. Not violently, not chaotically, but intentionally. Waves formed in repeating geometric cycles, like signals being transmitted through water itself. The massive oceanic structure that had emerged earlier continued to rotate beneath the surface, its presence now undeniable even from orbit. The alien admiral, now fully integrated into the containment lattice against his will, felt something shift inside his perception. It was not a physical change. It was informational. He could suddenly understand things he was never taught. Not through translation, through exposure. And what he understood made his internal systems freeze. Earth was not a single defensive network. It was layered, and what they had awakened so far was only the outer skin. Deep beneath the mantle, far below even the planetary lattice structures, something older began to respond. At first, it was not detected by sensors. It was detected by absence. Entire frequency bands stopped behaving normally. Gravitational readings lost precision. Quantum noise patterns across multiple ships collapsed into ordered silence. Then the core spoke. Not through the ocean, not through machines, but through the structure of space itself. Every being in orbit, human, alien, synthetic, heard it in the same way, not as sound but as comprehension forced into thought. "You have arrived late." The alien fleet went still. The containment lattice stabilized instantly, as if acknowledging a superior authority had entered the system hierarchy. The Admiral tried to respond, but his command interface refused input. Instead, it displayed a single evolving symbol, shifting, expanding, reforming endlessly like a living equation. Below them, Earth's crust began to open in places no satellite had ever mapped. Not cracks, not fractures, but access points. Structures embedded within the planet began to rise into partial activation states, massive buried frameworks spanning thousands of kilometers. Each one pulsed in sync with something deeper, something not located in physical space alone. And then memory arrived. Not personal memory, planetary memory. The alien fleet suddenly experienced fragments of events that were not theirs. A previous armada burning in silent orbit. A civilization collapsing mid-transmission. A fleet turning its weapons inward without external influence. Each memory ended the same way. Earth remained. The invaders did not. The Admiral staggered mentally. This is impossible. There is no record of prior extinction cycles on this world. And then the Corps answered him directly. There were never records kept. Inside the containment lattice, alien ships began to shift orientation without command. Engines responded to gravitational instructions that did not originate from any known signal source. Entire fleets found themselves aligning into formation patterns they did not choose. Earth was not just defending. It was organizing them. Far below, the oceanic structure reached full synchronization with the mantle network. And something deep within Earth, deeper than the buried machines, deeper than the lattice, deeper than anything the invaders had encountered, finally activated fully. The core revealed itself not as a machine, but as continuity. A persistent system maintaining planetary survival across incomprehensible timescales. Its voice returned, stronger now, layered with countless overlapping echoes. You are the current iteration. The Admiral finally understood. Not fully, but enough. This was not the first invasion. Not even close. Earth had been attacked before, many times across cycles so vast they were no longer measured in history, but in resets. Each time the invaders escalated. Each time Earth adapted. And each time, the world reset its visible memory to prevent recurrence. The core continued. We do not defend, we iterate. Above Earth, alien fleets attempted to break formation, but the containment lattice prevented divergence. Their ships moved as parts of a larger system now, their autonomy reduced not by destruction, but by integration into planetary-scale computation. Then the Admiral saw something that shattered his remaining assumptions. In orbit beyond Earth, structures that were not part of his fleet began to appear. Not arriving. Revealing themselves. Silent constructs, dormant for unknown durations, awakening only in response to current conditions. They were not alien. They were not human. They were previous outcomes. And Earth's core confirmed it. Failed iterations are preserved for reference. The Admiral whispered, barely able to process it. We are not the first invaders. The core responded instantly. You are not even the most recent. The containment lattice tightened once more. And for the first time since the invasion began, the alien fleet realized the truth was no longer about conquest. It was about whether they would become part of the system, or be corrected out of it entirely. The core's revelation should have ended all resistance. It did not, because something inside Earth's deepest systems triggered an anomaly that even the planetary lattice did not predict. In Antarctica, beneath kilometers of ice that had never fully melted for hundreds of thousands of years, a structure that was not on any map began to warm. Not activate. Not power on. Warm. As if something inside it had just remembered how to breathe. The alien Admiral detected it first through indirect system feedback, a faint irregularity in the containment lattice, a disruption not caused by enemy action, but by internal prioritization shifts. Then the ocean structure paused for the first time since full activation. Every system across Earth hesitated for 0.7 seconds. That was enough. Deep beneath Antarctica, a sealed chamber split open along precision lines that predated modern metallurgy. Ice collapsed inward, not melting but reorganizing into vaporized symmetry. Massive doors rotated apart silently, revealing a cylindrical chamber glowing with soft amber light. Inside stood a single human figure. Alive. Not preserved. Not simulated. Awake. He wore no armor that any modern military would recognize. No insignia, no digital interface. Yet every system on Earth reacted to his presence instantly. The core went silent. Not deactivated. Respectfully silent. The alien fleet, still integrated into the containment lattice, felt something shift again. This was not planetary defense behavior. This was command recognition. The man stepped forward slowly, as if he had not moved in a very long time. His eyes adjusted to the distant war unfolding above the atmosphere. He did not look surprised. Only mildly annoyed. Above him, Earth systems recalibrated their authority hierarchy. For the first time since the invasion began, the planetary defense lattice registered a conflicting command source. Not higher. Not lower. Original. The core spoke, but differently now. Not as a system. As something acknowledging equivalence. Commander designation confirmed. The alien admiral froze. A human commander. That should have been impossible. Humanity had been eliminated in the initial harvest phase, billions erased before coordinated resistance could form. And yet here he was. The man tilted his head slightly, as if listening to something no one else could hear. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, too calm for a planet burning in orbit. You activated the lattice early. Earth systems recalculated instantly. The core responded. Extinction threshold EXCEDD. Protocol initiated. The man exhaled slowly. That's not what I asked. A pause. Even the alien fleet sensed it. Something deeply uncomfortable about how Earth itself seemed to be responding to him like a subordinate. He looked upward, directly at the orbital battlefield. At the invading fleet. At the containment sphere. At the broken war above his frozen world. And finally said, "Show me the current iteration." At that moment, every alien ship received a full data injection. Not attack data. Not tactical information. Something worse. History. They saw fragments of prior cycles again, but this time clearer. Entire fleets annihilated not by war, but by systemic correction. Civilizations erased not through destruction, but through structural incompatibility with Earth's defense logic. One admiral screamed, "This is not a planet, it's a recursive weapon system." The human commander turned slightly, hearing the outburst through integrated planetary channels. He sighed, still dramatic in this cycle. Then he gave a single command. Not loud, not forceful, but absolute. Stand down the lattice. Earth hesitated. For the first time since activation, the planetary defense network did not respond immediately. The core flickered. Alien systems across the fleet suddenly regained partial autonomy. Engines stabilized. Navigation partially restored. The containment sphere loosened slightly. The admiral stared in disbelief. He overrode the planet. But the human was not finished. He stepped forward again. This is not an extinction-level event. He looked at the sky, then corrected himself. Not yet. A new alert flashed across all systems. Secondary invasion, signal deity. But this time it was not from aliens. Not from Earth. From somewhere outside the entire system. The commander's expression finally changed. Not fear. Recognition. And for the first time since his awakening, he looked up at the war above Earth like it was no longer the real problem. Because something far worse than the invasion had just noticed the planet was awake again. The sky above Earth did not darken. It stopped behaving like sky. For a brief moment, every sensor in orbit, alien, human, and planetary, recorded the same impossible reading. Space itself had become uncertain, not warped, not distorted, unstable in its very definition, as if reality was reconsidering its own rules. The human commander felt it immediately. Not through instruments, through instinct. His gaze locked upward, and for the first time since his awakening, his expression sharpened, not in fear, but in recognition of something he had once prepared for and hoped never to see again. The alien fleet, still partially integrated into Earth's containment lattice, began to detect anomalies beneath anomalies. Their systems were no longer just tracking Earth. They were tracking something inside Earth's response to itself. And that was when the seed network revealed its true form. It did not emerge like the ocean lattice or the buried machines. It unfolded. Across continents, cities began to glitch, not collapse, not explode, but reorganize in subtle, unsettling ways. Streets shifted alignment by degrees. Skyscrapers reconfigured internal geometry. Power grids rerouted themselves without input. Entire metropolitan regions began forming repeating patterns when viewed from orbit. At first, it looked like system correction. Then it looked like design. And finally, it became undeniable. Earth had been hosting a second intelligence layer all along. One that had never been dormant. Only patient. Inside the alien fleet, crew members began reporting cognitive interference. Not hallucinations, but structured thought intrusions. Foreign logic patterns inserting themselves into decision-making processes. One officer shouted, "Something is speaking through our predictive models." The admiral tried to stabilize command control, but his interface responded with unfamiliar outputs. Tactical maps began displaying zones labeled in symbols that were not translated. They were understood instinctively. The seed network spoke at last. Not through sound, not through systems, but through behavioral inevitability. "You were expected." The human commander closed his eyes briefly, then muttered, "Of course you were." The alien fleet froze, because they realized something horrifying. The seed network was not reacting to them. It was reacting to all outcomes of invasion itself. It had been embedded into Earth not as defense, but as contingency evolution. A hidden intelligence designed to grow alongside threats, learning, adapting, and eventually integrating invaders into its own expanding structure. One alien captain finally broke. "We are not fighting Earth. We are inside its evolutionary process." Above the planet, space flickered again. And then the second invader arrived. Not a fleet. Not a species. Not even a physical presence in conventional terms. It manifested as a collapsing boundary of structured darkness, something that seemed to erase observation itself wherever it extended. Even recording instruments failed to agree on what it looked like. Some systems reported absence. Others reported infinite density. Others simply returned errors as if meaning itself had been denied. The human commander's eyes narrowed. The core spoke, but weaker now. "Outside intervention, DATCTAD." The alien admiral turned slowly toward the anomaly. "This is not part of any galactic registry." The commander cut him off. "It never is." The seed network reacted instantly. Cities across Earth lit up with synchronized patterns. Oceans formed fractal lattices again. The planetary system attempted full-scale integration with the incoming entity, but something resisted. The new presence did not attack. It evaluated. And that was worse, because it was not trying to destroy Earth. It was determining whether Earth should be allowed to continue existing in its current form. The commander looked toward Antarctica, as if communicating with something far below him. "You woke the wrong observers," he said quietly. The core responded, "We did not wake them." A pause. Then, "We attracted them." The alien fleet began to lose structural cohesion inside the lattice. Ships drifted into patterns they did not control. Systems began prioritizing survival strategies that contradicted their own design logic. The seed network expanded further. and Earth's surface displayed one final transformation. A global signal lattice activated across every continent simultaneously. A message broadcast not through space, but through existence itself. Even the invading anomaly paused. Because for the first time, it had been addressed. The message was simple. Terrifyingly simple. This planet is under continuous observation. The human commander exhaled slowly, then added, almost under his breath, "And we are running out of cycles." Above Earth, the hidden invader remained still, evaluating, deciding, and for the first time since the war began, both Earth and its enemies realized the same truth at once. The real invasion had not ended. It had only escalated to a level none of them had ever prepared to survive. The silence above Earth was no longer peaceful. It was judgmental. The unknown presence beyond space, neither fleet nor civilization, held position at the edge of reality like a hand hovering over an unfinished decision. Every system that attempted to observe it returned inconsistent results. Every attempt to analyze it created contradictions inside the analyzing system itself. Even the seed network slowed its expansion for the first time. Not stopped, just cautious. The human commander stood in Antarctica, looking upward through layers of atmosphere, orbital debris, and collapsing war structures. Around him, Earth's planetary lattice flickered between full activation and partial compliance, as if uncertain which authority it should obey. The alien fleet remained trapped, but no longer actively contained. The lattice had loosened, not out of mercy but hesitation. Entire ships drifted in orbit, engines running at minimal output, crews frozen in a state of forced awareness, unable to escape, unable to advance. And then the core spoke one final time. Not as command, not as system, as exhaustion. We are not the first layer. The commander closed his eyes briefly. So it's here again. The alien admiral, still partially integrated into Earth's network, finally understood something that broke his remaining certainty. Earth was not the battlefield. It was the boundary condition. A sealed point between something inside the galaxy and something outside it. The unknown presence shifted slightly. And in that shift, every system across Earth experienced the same sensation. Observation. Not detection. Not scanning. Evaluation. The seed network reacted immediately, expanding across continents in defensive formation patterns. The ocean lattice stabilized again. The buried machines reoriented. The planetary defense architecture prepared for full-scale engagement. But the human commander raised one hand. And everything stopped. Not because Earth obeyed him. Because something deeper recognized the gesture. He spoke calmly. This ends the cycle. The core responded instantly. Cycle termination, REQIRES external consent. A pause. Then the commander said something that caused every active system, human, alien, planetary, to freeze. Then I give it. The alien admiral snapped. You can't authorize planetary termination. But even as he spoke, he felt the lattice shifting again, this time not in response to Earth systems, but to the commander's presence itself. The unknown entity beyond reality moved closer. And for the first time, its intent became partially interpretable. Not destruction. Not conquest. Containment review. Earth was being inspected like a failing experiment that had somehow continued to evolve beyond expected parameters. The seed network tried one final expansion. The ocean lattice rose to full configuration. The buried machines synchronized at maximum output. Every system across Earth prepared to resist. But the commander lowered his hand. No. One word. And Earth obeyed. The planetary defense lattice shut down in layers, not all at once, but in controlled de-escalation. The seed network froze mid-expansion. The ocean structure stabilized into dormancy. Even the alien ships felt their systems released from forced integration constraints. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth was still. The unknown presence paused. then responded, not with force, with decision. A single point of light formed at the edge of reality above Earth's orbit. It did not enter space, it defined space around it. And through it came a signal that did not translate into language but into understanding. Every intelligence present received the same message. Continuity accepted for review. The commander exhaled slowly. So we're not deleted. A pause. Then the second part arrived. Subject 2, Containment Realignment. The alien admiral whispered, "We are being categorized." The seed network went silent. The core dimmed. Earth itself waited. And the unknown presence delivered its final condition. One will remain active to observe the next cycle. At that moment, every system on Earth understood what was being asked. Not sacrifice, not destruction, but selection. Humanity, the alien invaders, the planetary core, the seed network. Only one could remain as witness to whatever came next. The commander looked at the sky one last time, then spoke quietly, "We choose Earth." And for the first time in recorded existence, the universe did not immediately respond. It considered,